Proverbs Chapter 5 begins with a warning against adultery and the dangers of falling into immoral relationships. The father advises his son to pay attention to his wisdom and discretion, as these will protect him from the seductive and dangerous allure of the immoral woman. Her words may seem sweet like honey, but in the end, they are bitter and lead to destruction. Her feet lead to death, and her steps take hold of the grave. The chapter warns against following her, as her ways are unstable and deceptive. The chapter then shifts to counsel the reader to stay far away from the adulterous woman and not even go near her door. If one falls into her trap, they risk losing their honor, years of their life, and their wealth to strangers. In the end, the adulterer will groan and regret, realizing that they did not listen to wisdom or heed the warnings of discipline. They will suffer, lamenting the consequences of their sinful choices. Next, the chapter presents a positive alternative: faithfulness in marriage. The father encourages his son to rejoice in the wife of his youth and remain devoted to her. The imagery of drinking water from one's own cistern and a wellspring symbolizes marital fidelity and the fulfillment that comes from a faithful, loving relationship. The son is urged to be captivated by his wife's love and to avoid the temptation of another woman, reminding him that marital love is a source of satisfaction and joy. The chapter concludes by emphasizing that God sees all paths and ways of people, and no sin is hidden from him. The wicked are ensnared by their own sins and entangled in the cords of their wrongdoing. They will die because they refused to accept discipline and were led astray by their own folly. The chapter reinforces that following wisdom and living righteously lead to life, while giving in to temptation and sin leads to destruction and death. Let's now read Proverbs chapter 5. My son, attend unto my wisdom, and bow thine ear to my understanding. That thou mayest regard discretion, and that thy lips may keep knowledge. For the lips of a strange woman drop as an honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But her end is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death, her steps take hold on hell. Lest thou shouldest ponder the path of life, her ways are movable, that thou canst not know them. Hear me now therefore, O ye children, and depart not from the words of my mouth. Remove thy way far from her, and come not nigh the door of her house. Lest thou give thine honor unto others, and thy years unto the cruel. Lest strangers be filled with thy wealth, and thy labors be in the house of a stranger. And thou mourn at the last, when thy flesh and thy body are consumed. And say, how have I hated instruction, and my heart despised reproof. And have not obeyed the voice of my teachers, nor inclined mine ear to them that instructed me. I was almost in all evil in the midst of the congregation and assembly. Drink waters out of thine own cistern, and running waters out of thine own well. Let thy fountains be dispersed abroad, and rivers of waters in the streets. Let them be only thine own, and not strangers with thee. Let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth. Let her be as the loving hind and pleasant roe, let her breast satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravished always with her love. And why wilt thou, my son, be ravished with a strange woman, and embrace the bosom of a stranger? For the ways of man are before the eyes of the Lord, and he pondereth all his goings. His own iniquities shall take the wicked himself, and he shall be holden with the cords of his sins. He shall die without instruction, and in the greatness of his folly he shall go astray. This ends our reading of Proverbs chapter 5.